shakalaka!
Irving fakes, drives, James on the throwdown.
What is up, Sports Wars? What is up, Geeks and Gamers community? We are back here with our infamous Sports Wars podcast. I'm your host. Yes, I'm still standing. Known as the Mayor, more commonly known as Pat. And I'm being joined by my two cohorts here, Mr. Roy Morgan, as well as Mr. Aaron Morris. How are you guys doing tonight?
I think we all kind of took it on the chin this weekend watching our NFL games, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, whatever Roy just said, because it was a weekend and it was football, so.
Still hurts.
Yeah, definitely. You know, between last Thursday night and as recently as not even 24 hours ago, we all respectively kind of took a Mike Tyson uppercut.
I mean, I actually just thought about that. All three of our teams played in prime time.
This is the loser podcast.
Yeah,
sports losers.
A very public ass whooping.
Man, just L's, right? But you know what? Hey, like they say, like The Rock was telling me earlier today, it's a long season. It's early. You know, don't get too.
La Rock.
Don't get too deep just yet.
David La Rock. I was like, dude, you don't know The Rock. Come on, like The Rock isn't reaching out to you. So
hey, you never know. Social media is some crazy shit. But before we get into the recap of everything that went down in the major games last week, and then talk about some of the major matchups coming up, I tried to avoid it, but I got to touch on this Nike shit right quick. All right. And, for our consistent viewers and our new viewers and whatnot, who are used to Jeremy and how outspoken he is about certain things on that main channel and how some of that is kind of coming over here. Like I've said before, there's a lot more to Geeks and Gamers, and there are a lot more voices and opinions and mindsets than just Jeremy's. As far as this whole Nike controversy, Nike uproar, Nike this, that, and the third, look here, man. What's the little saying? Facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, well, let me spit some facts at y'all right quick. As of right now, Nike stock is above what it was before the Kaepernick campaign and ad took off and apparently set the world on fire. It dipped down briefly, yes, but it crept right back up in the following days and now is worth more than it was before all of this shit started. Also, since then, Nike's sales are up 31%. That's nothing to sneeze at. Nike is a massive worldwide marketing conglomerate that absolutely dominates in sales and in licensing of footwear, sportswear, and athletic equipment in general. Last year, Nike made $34 billion in revenue. They currently own $23 billion worth of assets and are sitting on $12 billion in equity. Nike is a brand that is on the level of Apple, of Microsoft, of Disney, of IBM, of Walmart, of McDonald's, all of that elite worldwide billions upon billions upon billions of dollars type shit. They are more than capable of withstanding a wave of irrational behavior, because let's keep it real. That's what we're seeing from these goofballs burning shit. They're being just as sensitive and emotional and butthurt and prone to knee-jerk reactions as all of the liberals and SJWs that they always try to critique. You're doing the same shit. This Kaepernick stuff has y'all emotional. You're emotional. And as far as this whole righteous sign of indignation to burn your Nikes, okay. How many pairs of Air Max 95s have you guys seen being burned? How many pairs of Jordan 11s have you seen being burned? And this is for Aaron, the Chicago guy.
Don't do it.
How many pairs of 13s have you seen being burned? None. because all the people doing this burning bullshit, instead of taking those shoes and, donating them to the veterans that you claim to care so much about, you're burning them. But you're not burning any of this elite, highly crafted, highly designed stuff, are you? No, you're burning a bunch of clearance shit that you got 5 years ago from a sports authority in the middle of Boise, Idaho, that has since gone out of fucking business. That's all I got. What do y'all think?
I just want to start by applauding you at the very beginning. It actually made me crack up when you said that the Nike Kaepernick ad has set the world on fire, because I thought that was the funniest thing. Like, it has literally set the world on fire.
People are tripping, right? Like, people
are acting a damn nut right now. To me, the most disgraceful part of the entire thing is the people who call themselves patriots in regards to this, that are using Pat Tillman's image with the same marketing slogan. After Pat Tillman's widow has come out and said, look, don't politicize my husband, she didn't say one way or another how she felt. And she's allowed. I mean, however she feels, one way or the other, whether she's for Cap, against Cap, whatever, she's allowed. Same as everybody else is allowed. You're allowed to feel how you want to feel about Colin Kaepernick. Nobody's telling you can't. Right. But it's disgraceful to me to use a veteran's image against his widow's wishes to continue to spread whatever message you want to spread. I mean, that's the most disgraceful part of it for me. I know we have an actual veteran on the show. We do. I know Aaron has made his Aaron is distinctly non-political for his choices. I understand. Aaron, I know you want to drop a little knowledge on people for it, so go for it, brother.
So, I served in the Army 4 years, went to Iraq in 2005. Without getting into all that too much, I just personally don't have a problem with the original protest, the kneeling, none of that stuff. It doesn't bother me one way or the other politically, and it definitely doesn't affect my viewing and love for the game of football. It's completely separate. I mean, honestly, most of the time, how often do you see the anthem played when you turn on a game? A lot of times they start the game after that's already done. Obviously the people in the stadium are there for it, but a lot of times we don't even see it. So it never really affects me. The Nike stuff, I mean, I own a ton of Nike stuff. I don't really care, man. None of this bothers me at all, one way or the other. The only point I tried to make the other day when all of this was like really in the thick of it when it first came out is to people that are burning their stuff and throwing it away and that they've already paid for it, which is funny, by the way. But donate it to a homeless veteran. I mean, you guys are so high and mighty on supporting the troops, which the protests had nothing to do with the military at all in the first place, but actually support the troops and give all of your Nike stuff to people that don't have a house to live in or clean clothes to put on their back, that came back from war, and couldn't find a job that suited their skill set, or maybe aren't, 100% normal, if you will, after what took place overseas, and whatever they, went through caused them to not be able to have a job, not be able to be a fully functioning member of society, and a lot of them are on the street, man. So, put your money where your mouth is and give it back to the troops.
Yeah. And, to kind of wrap up, it's a situation where, for us to kind of reflect those views and opinions, it'll be real easy for people who are dense and who don't recognize nuance and complexity to come on and say, well, you guys are just a bunch of liberals. Like, no. Roy and I, if anything, are moderates, and Aaron, as he just said, doesn't really give two fucks about politics. The thing is that, there are people who have genuine convictions and beliefs, whether it's on the right or the left or whatever. And I think most of us have the utmost respect for that. What we don't respect is the people who just always have an axe to grind and take this shit and use it to just draw attention to themselves. Because let's be honest, if you're uploading a video of yourself burning Nikes, it's probably because you don't have anything else interesting about yourself to share with the world. And that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. And start standing up at home during the national anthem while you're sitting on your couch. If you feel that strongly, do it at home too, while nobody's looking at you.
Oh yeah, most def. Now, moving right along into our recap of some of the shit that went down within week one. We're going to start with the season opener where the Atlanta Falcons lost in a close defensive battle to the defending champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, 18-12. Roy, I got to throw this one to you first. What was your breakdown and overall assessment of what took place?
That hot burning feeling you get in the back of your throat when you have like pizza and beer at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. Kind of makes you nauseous and shit. The game, our season started the same way last season ended, in the end zone, same end zone, just different side, with a incomplete pass to Julio that could have won the game. It fucking hard to watch. We had several red zone attempts that came up with no points. I know we had a missed field goal, I think, in there at some point. Matt Ryan played like shit. Shout out LaRock. I had him on my fantasy football team. He got me 3 points. That's it was a rough day. Fantasy football aside and shit, but watching that offense struggle again. I've said this before. Atlanta to me has the most talent on offense as any team in the league. I will argue that all day. Top to bottom, we're 3-4 deep at wide receiver, 2 deep at running back. We have a former MVP as quarterback. The offensive line is solid, but even with the loss, this loss is actually going to be even harder to kind of stomach because of what we lost on defense.
Right.
Keanu Neal tore his ACL in the game. I still haven't heard whether he tore it the first time he went down and then tried to come back in and play, or if he tore it the second time he went down. Also, kind of breaking news today, Deion Jones just went on IR. So we've lost him for at least 2 months. Last year, we got hit hard with injuries when Vic Beasley partially tore his hamstring. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. This is shit or get off the pot time for Sarkisian. Losing guys like Jones and Neal, the offense can't struggle. It can't anymore. We have to go back to – we're not going to get back to that record-breaking offense we had, but we have to get some semblance of it. Scoring – in the last 2 games against Philadelphia, we've scored 22 points total. This offense should be able to get more than that in the first half. 22, the total for 8 quarters. We should get that right. 2 quarters. Ridley, Jones, Sanu, Ryan, Coleman, Freeman. There's too many weapons, and it's sickening to watch. It is a very sickening feeling. The way the last 2 seasons have ended for us and the way this one began, it's getting tough. I'm going to start drinking again.
To take a swig for your boys. Aaron, what did you think of the season opener?
Real quick, not that I don't fully disagree that they have the most talent on offense, as far as comparing them to any other top offensively talented team, I would say they have the most proven talent because you still have a couple of pieces that are unproven. Hooper is not a top-tier tight end. I don't think he's even a second-tier tight end.
Oh, no, I don't disagree.
And Calvin Ridley hasn't showed anyone anything yet. So,
No, I don't disagree there either.
Yeah, so you got, just like I said, just a couple pieces that, need to step up and prove that they're capable of being, just as good as the rest of the guys.
With the talent around Hooper and Ridley, like they should. That's the thing that jumps out to me is like Hooper last year. He would have a game where he'd look brilliant. He'd get like 4 or 5 catches and have 100+ yards, and then he'd have two or three games in a row where he just disappears. He'd get 2 catches for 4 yards, and then some drop that would just make you want to trade his ass or cut him, and just. By having Julio and Sanu and Coleman and Freeman on the field, Hooper should be able to eat just on leftovers. Who the fuck is guarding Hooper? Like based on there are other guys there who are guarding. Who's guarding who?
Yeah.
Who's guarding Ridley? You have Sanu and Julio out wide. Who's guarding Ridley in the slot? Like that's
well. In Hooper's case, at any point, it's going to be hard for any tight end to come into Atlanta and live up to the shoes that Tony Gonzalez left.
Oh no,
So,
I don't disagree.
You know, but on the game, I'll just touch on it real quick. It was a horrible game, I think, by both teams. It was not a fun game to watch for the opening night of the season opener. It was a boring football game, and that's kind of hard to find sometimes. I mean, I'm the type of guy that can watch any game. You know, I can watch the Bills and the Dolphins play and still find something I like out of it, but. Not fun, man. Not a fun game. Not a good start to the season as far as those two go. The Eagles didn't look like a Super Bowl team. Atlanta didn't look like a team coming for the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, no, I definitely see where you guys are both coming from. It's aesthetically speaking, visually, and just in terms of like core execution, it looked like what I feel like is increasingly becoming the situation with regard to preseason. A lot of teams, and you really can't argue too much because guys are getting hurt left and right in these preseason games and in week one. So a lot of coaches and coordinators, they don't want to take their top tier, highest paid, crucial talent and put them at risk too much during the preseason. But at the same time, that's X amount of reps that guys aren't getting, first string, second string, whatever. And across the league as a whole, during these week one games, like there was just a lot of out of sync, rusty, just not on point. And I think that the season opener, ironically enough, really illustrated that.
I mean, and that's part of what I was worried about going into the game, because Julio and Devontae Freeman sat out the entire preseason.
Right.
But Julio showed real fast. He apparently he doesn't get rusty like at all. He got 169 yards receiving, no touchdowns. Unfortunately, that one at the end would have been great. Yeah. But I mean, I think part of it was kind of. I mean, how many more yards could he have gotten if him and Ryan had been on the same page? There was that notoriously underthrown ball that he just fucking put a duck up there and got intercepted.
Yeah, I know all about underthrown passes after last night. Let me tell you.
And I don't want this to happen. You guys know I love Julio, and I've followed him since the day he became a player at Alabama. If he has another season like he did last year, I don't know what you do with that team offensively. That's
what's crazy though is last year he didn't have a bad season.
Yeah, I know he didn't have a bad season, but he had three. I'm talking about touchdowns. If he has another touchdown season like he did last season,
if somebody could crack that fucking riddle for me, like I would love it. Like I have no idea how a guy like Julio ends up with only 3 touchdowns all year. I mean, he is easily the best combination of all the features you look for in a wide receiver in the league. I'm not saying he's the best wide receiver in the league right now because I know he had touchdown-wise, it was a down year. But of all the little boxes you check off when you're looking for a wide receiver, that size of Megatron, that speed of Randy Moss, speed-ish of Randy Moss, the route running of Antonio Brown, Julio has all those check boxes.
Agreed.
And it's insane to me that he's only getting – like that was my takeaway from the game on Thursday. The only good takeaway I can see was at least they're targeting him in the end zone now. Because what the fuck? So,
yeah, I mean they're well to your point, Roy, to kind of close out. The clock's ticking for Sarkisian. He better figure shit out and figure it out quick.
Shit doesn't get turned around quick. He's not going to make it through the season.
Yeah. Well, moving right along to one of our Monday night matchups. How about the debut of Sam Darnold, y'all? Of course, his first pass in the NFL as the New York Jets took on the Detroit Lions at Ford Field was a pick six. However, from then on, the Jets' offense and the Jets' defense took off running. They stepped on Detroit's neck and ran and didn't look back in a 48-17 rout. The camera was panning around Ford Field, showing just the demeanor of the Detroit fans. I don't know if I've seen a crowd that dejected at any game, much less a season opener, outside of maybe the fucking Broncos fans back during Super Bowl 48.
Shit, you should have came to my house at the end of that the Super Bowl 51.
Aaron, I know you are a big Bears fan, so you probably took great delight in seeing Detroit get the shit kicked out of them. What was your overall assessment on the game?
So congratulations to Sam Darnold and his debut as a Jets quarterback. It's the Jets. I'm not sold. Congratulations. You guys deserve a win every once in a while, but wait and see. So that's all you say. So I'm not going to spend any more time on the Jets. Why don't we talk about how bad Detroit looked and talk about 5 total interceptions and everybody's fantasy Matt Stafford quarterback crying in the corner after last night. And, you know, I don't want to open up a whole can of worms because Roy and I, and we could all talk about this for probably 2 solid hours, but when do you start looking at your next quarterback in Detroit? And I'm not saying that Matt Stafford's a bad quarterback. He's a great quarterback. Not elite, not mid-tier. He is a great quarterback. 4,000 yards a season, every season his whole career just about. He's great. But he is never going to win a ring in Detroit. It's just not going to happen there. He has weapons on offense, receiver-wise, now that he's had for a couple years. Jones, Tate, I mean, that's a great combo. Never really had a super solid tight end in Ebron or whatever, but never had a running game, sure. But it's just not going to happen. Detroit is not winning a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. And he could very easily slide into a team where they could contend with him at quarterback.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think me and you we did have this conversation in the group a couple of days ago. I don't disagree, but I don't think. I think that the way you're wording it is what kind of gets me a little bit. That Detroit's not winning a Super Bowl with Stafford. I think the better way to word it would be Stafford's not winning a Super Bowl with Detroit. That they have notoriously wasted 2 Hall of Famers' careers. They wasted very.
I mean, I'd venture to say Detroit's not going to win a Super Bowl with Stafford, without Stafford, whatever. But
and I mean, that's what's crazy is ownership has changed. It's not like I have no problem bringing up the Atlanta Falcons. Our history.
Really, you have no problem bringing up the Falcons?
No, who would have guessed? I have no problem bringing up the Falcons' shitty history. Okay, for years we were fucking doormats. The owners of the I think it was the Smith family that owned the Falcons for years were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. And then when Arthur Blank bought the Falcons, that's when the culture has changed. And I forget exactly what year he bought them, but we've had our best years under Arthur Blank. Before Arthur Blank got here, the Atlanta Falcons had never had 2 seasons above 500 in a row. And never before Arthur Blank. We not even like 2 years making the playoffs. No, we had never had a season where we went like 9-7 and 9-7 back to back. We had never had that. So Arthur Blank has turned it around. I think going back to the Lions, I think it has more to do with the ownership there. Has more to do with the GM there. They do a shitty job of scouting talent, of putting talent around him. Stafford hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Reggie Bush. There was a 4-year span where the Lions didn't have a single 100-yard rusher in a game. Last night was terrible. I've never seen a pro team look that outmatched in a game that they were supposed to maybe not destroy the Jets, but they were supposed to win it. And Todd Bowles, shout out to Todd Bowles. He did a great job last night. Rumor was that after the game was over, they were interviewing, I think it was Darren Lee or Jamal Adams, and they told the reporters they knew what was coming every time. They had scouted the hand signals. They had scouted the audibles at the line. They knew what was coming, which tells me that old Jim Bob Cooter, who probably has the best name in all of NFL coordinators. Old Jim Bob Cooter didn't change anything. How the fuck do you go from one season to the next and don't even change your hand signals?
That's what I want to ask both of you guys then. Who goes first if the season plays the rest of the way it did last night? If last night was an indicator of how Detroit's season's going to go, who goes first, Patricia or Jim Bob Cooter? And by the way, if that's your name, Jim Bob Cooter, go coach in college. You don't belong in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he sound like he should be coaching like the team from the Waterboy?
He should be coaching Arkansas State.
Yeah, it's easily going to be Cooter. The Cooter's going to go.
He sounds like the fucking cafeteria organizer of like fucking Louisville or some shit like that.
Yeah, Cooter will be the first one to go. I just like saying his fucking name.
He'll be coaching at Bethune-Cookman.
I mean, I just think he like that offense was terrible. You could see Stafford was frustrated. I didn't realize Stafford had been in the league for 10 years. They brought up a stat last night. It surprised the shit out of me. I didn't think it'd been that long. Another story that I actually just saw before we started the podcast. Apparently, Matt Patricia it doesn't have many fans in that Detroit locker room. He's already in danger of losing the locker room. As you can see from the game last night, it looked like the players just gave up on him. He came in trying to be Belichick, and the Detroit players not really responding to it. Maybe it's that no fun that the Eagles players were saying about the Patriots players. Maybe they were just bitching about there was no positive reinforcement in training camp this year. It was all, oh, you're fucking up, you're not doing a good job. And the players didn't really respond to that at all. And so that's bad. That's going to be very bad if this continues for the length of the season.
Well, to answer your initial question, Aaron, to be honest, I haven't really been able to gauge a good sense from the Detroit ownership as far as what their level of patience is. So in my mind, it's a coin flip between either one of those guys pertaining to who would, be the first to kind of get the axe if their season turns out to be just complete bullshit. As far as the game itself goes, I mean, the thing that stood out more to me than anything really, more than Darnold, more than Stafford's, ineptitude with Patricia, was how fast and assertive the Jets' defense was. I mean, granted, if they know what's coming beforehand, okay, yeah, that's significant. But even still, like they looked assertive and athletic, and like they're really, just trying to get after the ball and trying to really contain whatever explosiveness Detroit wanted to throw at them, whether it was in, play action, split out wide, whatever the case. Like they looked genuinely just juiced and prepared to take on anything. And they didn't play scared either. The Jets, they go out and get a Trumaine Johnson, they add other pieces. Like they aren't just cowering to be completely terrible like we've known the AFC East to be for the better part of the last 20 years. Am I saying that we should be high on the Jets necessarily? No. I think the Jets took advantage of a Detroit team that has way more issues than any of us may have anticipated. But even still, a win's a win. Darnold, the kid, looked pretty sharp. He looked like, he had a short memory with that mistake. He just progressed and moved right along and ended up balling out. So, you got to give him credit.
If the Lions, if the Lions don't fix this and it continues to go this way, it's going to make the NFC North that much more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did we ever really think that going into week 2 that we'd have an undefeated matchup of the Jets and the Dolphins?
No, by no means. Speaking of another team that is currently undefeated, that I'm not sure either one of you guys saw coming, because you you pick the other guys to win their division. Let's not shy away from that. The Panthers and Cam
How do I log off
won a
this?
very, very ugly game against America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Final score was 16-8, and the Panthers barely looked better than the Cowboys, but they did get a win against a team that looked undynamic and slow and unexplosive and limited, and like they have a pretty low ceiling. Now, again, it is, like I say, it's week one, it's early, but still, Dallas did not look promising out there. Roy, you're our resident NFC South guru. What was your making of this game?
Man, both teams look terrible. This is what we thought the Jets-Lions game was going to look like. We knew that the Cowboys, the offensive or the wide receivers, it was going to be tough. I don't think we realized it was going to be this tough. In this game, Dak Prescott was he passed for 170 yards and was the leader. Like Cam only threw for 161. It was ugly. 9 sacks between the two of them. Even the rushing, everybody thinks that this game is just going to be, they're just going to run up and down the field. The leading rusher was Zeke Elliott. He only got 69 yards. The longest rush was Cam at 29. It was just, this game was ugly.
Oh, that's odd. I thought that the Great White Hope in Carolina was, top 5 back.
Uh-oh.
No touchdowns there. Only 2 touchdowns scored, and neither one by Christian McCaffrey. So the Great White Hope's going to have to wait another week for his first touchdown of the season. I know Carolina won the game, but I don't know how much of a victory you can claim. You just lost Greg Olsen again. He's done for a significant amount of time. It's so much that they're not even saying. They also just lost their right tackle for the season. Like he's got a torn ACL. He's done. So I don't know where either team really goes from here.
It's hard to judge either team off of that game. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel DJ Moore was what we kind of expected. Kind of like the Calvin Ridley situation. Like we kind of expected these 2 rookies out of all the rookie receivers. We expected to see these guys make some sort of an impact or statement on the field.
DJ Moore got more rushing attempts than targets.
Yeah, on to week 2. I don't have much to say about this game because it's just one of those weird situations where it's like I just want to see them both in week 2 and see where
sample size is so small.
Yeah, after shaking the rust of the first week, the first game of the year. Let's see where these 2 teams and what they look like next week, So, but now Carolina has some issues to overcome with losing, a Hall of Fame tight end.
Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't get any easier for them because they've got us next week.
Oh, the team that you don't mind bringing up, who are they?
The Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I tell you what, man, a 16-8 matchup, there really isn't that much to skewer, analyze, get into. To Aaron's point, the loss of Olsen and the situation with Carolina's offensive line, that does not bode well in general. Dallas, as you guys know, I'm really, really not high on Dallas at all this year. So those results didn't surprise me. I mean, say what you will about Dez Bryant. He doesn't run the entire route tree. He's not as fast anymore, but he's still a somewhat viable option that's no longer there. And the safety blanket of Jason Witten, although he was old and slow, in the right concepts and against, the right coverage, he was still very reliable to move the chains, and he's gone too. So I think it's going to take a long while for this Dallas team to establish some identity, because if they can't pound it with Zeke, it gets ugly from there.
But they still have Dez in Twitter form.
Yeah, they still have him giving his emotional support through online means. And by emotional support, I mean roasting. And moving right along, one of Roy's favorite teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, found themselves not able to close out in overtime against who? Wait, what? Against
The dog pound, the big dogs in the yard.
LeBron, Cleveland Browns. It ended in a 21-21 knockdown drag-out tie. I'm not sure whether I should roast the Steelers or if I should praise Cleveland for competing at such a high level against their arch fucking nemesis. Roy, what do you think? Because I can't wrap my head around it.
I want to start this by saying that the Cleveland Browns broke their losing streak in the most Cleveland Browns way possible by not winning. Pittsburgh ought to be fucking ashamed of themselves. There's no other way to put it. And the Pittsburgh fans are going to make excuses. There's Rusty. We didn't have Bell. Fuck all that. Connor rushed for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big Ben looked like shit. He missed on 18 passes. He went 23 of 41. He still threw for 335 because they just let him throw the fucking ball up and down the field all the time. What's crazy to me is the amount of targets. I know Antonio Brown's supposed to be the best receiver in the league, and everybody just sings his praises and all that. The dude gets more targets than anybody. And, I mean, Juju showed his ass. Shout out to Juju. I got him on my fantasy team. He showed his ass. He got 119 yards receiving. He did it on half the targets and half the receptions that Antonio got, and probably 1/20th of his contract. Meanwhile, the Browns, Tyrod Taylor was even worse, but he didn't throw as many interceptions. Tyrod Taylor went Tyrod. Incompleted 25 passes. He went 15 of 40. Sacked 7 times. They couldn't get a rushing game, really. I mean, Carlos Hyde got the ball 22 times, got 62 yards. I mean, the fact that Cleveland was able to even hang into this, they were down 21. It was 21-7 going into the fourth quarter, and Cleveland came back. Fucking disgraceful by Pittsburgh. This proves the point that me and Pat were talking about during the before the lead up, our pregame. This team has never given up on Hugh Jackson. Not like the Lions look like they gave up on Matt Patricia last night. The Browns have won 1 game in 2 years, and they fucking fight tooth and nail for Hugh Jackson every week. The fact that they were able to even tie this, they're probably already planning a parade for this fucking tie. It was ugly. Pittsburgh should have blew their doors off. They let Cleveland come back. Cleveland still had a chance to win and still did what Cleveland does. But Pittsburgh should be fucking ashamed right now.
Aaron?
What do you say, man? Just kind of summed it up perfectly. Yeah, especially with Connor having 2 touchdowns and all those rushing yards. Like, how did they not win? It's kind of weird, but yep, I think we're seeing the downfall of Big Ben over there. So weird. Makes the Cleveland. Yeah, it's just so intriguing to see what's going to happen with Cleveland this year. Like,
it is
just to have that first game, that rivalry end in a tie. Like, that just set. I feel like that set like this weird standard for their season. As like, it's just going to be like. It could be crazy. Like, they could have some crazy wins, and you know they're probably gonna have some losses.
I'm kind of afraid for them this week, if I'm being honest. They're playing the Saints in New Orleans, so I'm really afraid for Cleveland this week.
New Orleans is a tough place to play unless
we're gonna get into New Orleans actually very soon. But just a little bit of breaking news for you guys. Apparently, the Steelers have full sail removed Le'Veon Bell from the depth chart as of today.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess I have a question. I kind of wish LaRock was here so we could break it down for us. I know what is it, week 10 is the latest that he can sign and have this year count for him.
That's why in our side bet, our friendly wager that we made, like that's what I said. I honestly think he's going to sit all of those games. And then I was asked why. I was talking to a friend about it, and like, well, why not preserve your body and your talent? If you plan on taking it somewhere else and getting paid for what you're worth, So yeah, sit on. And
I don't blame him at all. I guess my question was, what happens in week 10? He goes, okay, fuck it, I'll sign. What if Pittsburgh is like, no, we're good. We're not. You don't have to. We're going to rescind that offer. Like, can they do that? Like, because then they still get the rights back, right? Because he didn't play any of the season. So I would assume that if they rescind the offer, then he's free to go do whatever the fuck he wants to do. I know week 10, I think you have to be signed. Don't you have to be signed by like week 10 in order to be on a playoff roster or something?
I think it's 11, but that's why 10's the cutoff because you can't go to the 11th week.
Yeah, I'm about to look into that because I wonder if Pittsburgh can just say, "Oh no, fuck you, we're not going to sign you. We're going to keep your rights for next year and go through this all next year while you just wait it out and go broke, and we're going to do what we did to you to James Conner. We're just going to ride his ass into the ground and then draft the running back in the second or third round again when we've used him up."
Yeah, this is definitely a LaRock situation where he would know all the technicalities off the top of his head, but besides that point. Just give me, 3 teams off the top of your head that would jump on having him on their roster. San Fran.
I think of one right across the fucking state.
Philly, I mean, yeah, he's miles above LeGarrette Blount's talent, and Clement really hasn't proved himself yet. But, San Fran just took a loss for the season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared McKinnon.
Right.
I mean, hell, if we're going down the list, I mean, the Colts would be perfect. The Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to trade him to the Ravens.
No.
But the Ravens would be perfect.
That would.
San Francisco would be. Let's see.
You know who I'm thinking of? And I think the sneaky, cunning, calculating way, and again, this is a long shot. I don't know all the ins and outs and particulars pertaining to the contract and the cap hits, all that good stuff.
Are you about to really say New England?
No.
Oh.
Hell no. Way more of a they're not that stupid. God. Way more of a curveball than that. The sneaky thing to do would be to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Pete, we know that you guys don't really have a run game, and we could really use some veteran help in our crappy secondary.
So
that Thomas guy is not really. Let's see what we. Yeah, I think if they find before the trade deadline, if they have a window of opportunity to move him in return for either secondary help or some really, really solid picks to get secondary help next year, I don't think they'd hesitate to move off him, to be honest.
Straight up, well, I won't say straight up, but Earl Thomas in a second-round pick for Bell makes sense. Another team that it would probably make a lot of sense who just missed out on just missed out on a franchise-altering defender who says they did at least, who says that they're now that their rival got him, I was
going to say the Packers.
The Packers make too much sense. The Packers,
yeah, but that's why I was about to tell Pat, like, my pick would be more of a curveball than Pat's, because when have you ever seen the Packers spend that type of money?
I mean, they won't. That's exactly why he won't go there, because he's not gonna. If he thinks Pittsburgh won't open up the fucking wallet.
If he ended up in Wisconsin, I don't know if I'd be able to watch the rest of the season.
We're going to move along, but I don't want to go off on a full tangent about how annoying Green Bay's methods and ways are. One, unless you're a Bears fan, that is. But even with them being the only publicly owned team and not having that central figure at the top to go down into the general manager's office and be like, hey, what the fuck is going on? Green Bay's lack of just like, hey, let's go and get some firepower is pathetic. But I'm not going to go on a full tangent.
Real quick, though, what we just spoke of earlier, what team has never put help around their quarterback, Matt Stafford? Hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher in 4 years.
Yes, there's some weird decision making going on up there, man.
I didn't mean to, but
except for Chicago, apparently Chicago's ready to handle business.
They're just throwing that money out.
Oh yeah, and for the last edition of our Week 1 reviews, the truth is stranger than fiction. Ryan Fitzpatrick filling in for a suspended Jameis Winston throws for 417 yards, 4 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a passer rating of 158.3 and blows out the Saints at home. Now, granted, the final score was 48-40, but we all know this game was not as close as the final score indicated.
No.
Pardon, kids, close your ears, pardon my French, but what the fuck?
I actually watched almost every second of that game. Once I got bored with I started flipping back and forth between that and the Pats and the Texans game. But this became far more entertaining for me because I'm a Falcons fan, as I like to throw that out. And I enjoyed watching the Saints.
Idea.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching the Saints get the shit kicked out of them. Anybody who watches that replay of Ryan Fitzpatrick running that ball in, he looked like a fat kid chasing the school bus because he was late. It was fucking terrible. Now, shout out to my my bearded brother Fitzpatrick. He made that offense look like what it was supposed to look like with Winston. They brought in Deshaun Jackson to be the deep threat. He caught more passes for 40-plus yards last week on Sunday than he did the entire year last year. He caught 2 40-plus yard touchdown passes. He didn't catch a single one last year with Winston. Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson scored or got 140 yards receiving each. They did that with virtually no run game. Tampa Bay's starting running back is Peyton Barber. He rushed for 69 yards. So this wasn't – it was very one-sided. Like the story for New Orleans defense was it was supposed to be improved. The defense was great. But Tampa – and I know I have – experience with Dirk Cutter. Dirk Cutter was former OC. Mike Smith, defensive coordinator for Tampa, former head coach of Atlanta. I should hate Tampa more than I hate fucking New Orleans, but I enjoy watching them fall on their face. It was very refreshing to watch the Saints get the shit kicked out of them. I have no words really for how the fuck this happened. They did it to New Orleans, in New Orleans, and then probably went and had a fucking drink on Bourbon Street to celebrate it. I don't know. Kamara had a good game. I mean, if you checked off all the things that the Saints would need to have happen in order for them to win, Kamara got over 140 all-purpose yards. Drew Brees passed for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Only sacked once. Michael Thomas had 180 receiving yards.
Nasty.
If you would have checked, if you'd have told me all that to start the game, I'd have been like, this isn't even going to be fucking close. Their leading rusher was Kamara. He had 29 yards. I mean, I'm sure that the only person has less to say about this fucking game than like the less of an explanation is Saints fans. Like they, it was funny going back and forth with them throughout this game. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, just oddball shit, man. Aaron, what if anything did you think of it?
Well, I've had this debate with Roy a few times actually, but I've been telling everyone since the day he was drafted that Jameis Winston is trash. He's not a good quarterback. Roy claims that he's their franchise quarterback and he could be a franchise. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before.
No,
you said
Winston.
You said that he'd be some team would love to have him as their franchise quarterback, something along those lines.
That could have been me, dude. Because I've been hammering. You can ask what's the resident Florida State guy in the room? Your favorite fan? You're only a fan of Alabama if you can spell Tuscaloosa.
Right.
I've been out on Winston for years. Like,
I'm gonna have to dig it up. So we'll have to find it and do some research. But I think we've gotten to some debates about it. But Winston's trash. He's trash. But stop me if you've heard this story before. Brian Fitzpatrick comes in for an injured quarterback or a suspended quarterback, has 6 great games, maybe 4 great ones and 2 good ones where he manages the game and gets 4 or 5 wins, then gets benched, then goes to another team. So it's the same cycle we've seen. Yeah, it's the same cycle we've seen. Cool. Fitzpatrick had a great game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once in 2018.
Somebody actually had a quote in the in the Facebook Sports Wars group. They put a quote up there and said it's a trap, and it says that's Jets fans, and then underneath it I put also Texans fans, Titans fans, Bills fans, Rams fans. Everywhere he's played, it's that same cycle. It's exactly what Aaron said. Like starter goes down for whatever reason.
So yeah, this is another to me. In my opinion, this is along the same lines of what I said about the Jets game. Congratulations, Tampa. The real issue here is the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah,
that's the most glaring just note of this whole entire game is how do you put up that you have that many yards of total offense, and how do you let your defense continue to get the ball just hammered down their throats through the air by Ryan Fitzpatrick, Harvard graduate Ryan Fitzpatrick.
The only thing that's going to make this better for me is if the Saints go out next week and lose to the Browns. If they lose to the fucking Browns, I don't give a shit what the Falcons do next week. If the Saints lose to the Browns next week, Facebook is not safe. Facebook is not safe from any Saints fan.
Yeah, it's gonna be much worse than the meme of old boy from the championship game last year.
And Jimmy will team the fuck up and come after
He's calling it.
Saints fan.
He's calling it.
Wow.
If the Saints lost to the Browns, that's a win for the rest of the NFC South.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah. Pretty much in terms of how
just bragging rights alone too.
Pure entertainment value. It's going to be fucking box office.
Sorry, Wes, our boy Wesley Campbell. But yeah, I in all honesty, I feel like that's a pretty far long shot. But
I agree.
Saints got to get something fixed.
I think we saw plenty of examples of cliche ass any given Sunday this week.
Is Rex Ryan's brother still on the Saints defense?
No.
He's not. Okay. Right.
Well, week 1, albeit miserable for some fan bases, i.e. those represented here, it was still pretty damn interesting. Moving into week 2, we have selected a handful of matchups that we think are going to be equally captivating and compelling, if not more. Starting off, we have the New England Patriots coming off of a victory over the Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars and Jalen Ramsey off of a victory over the New York Giants. They will face New England at home in Jacksonville in sweltering Florida humidity for a rematch of the AFC Championship. I'm going to go ahead and throw this off to Aaron first.
38-32 Jacksonville. I'm just giving you quick hitters. In Jacksonville, New England has somewhat of a history in losing in the state of Florida. You know, a little guy named Jay Cutler slapped him around last year in Florida. But either way, obviously the Patriots could easily win the game. It's the New England Patriots. But I think at home in Jacksonville in the heat, I think if Blake Bortles manages the game well enough that his defense can put enough pressure on New England's offense and slide out of there with a victory.
Okay. Roy?
I actually don't disagree with Aaron. Well, I disagree, and I don't think that they're going to score.
Hold on.
Much.
Last time you did this, we said Dallas was winning their division. So
hey, on the college podcast, we also said Chicago was going to win that night. So together.
Oh.
No. I'm going to go two ways with this. The jury's still out on Fournette. Fournette hurt his hamstring in the game last week. If he is out, New England's going to win. But I don't think it's high scoring. I will say no matter what, Jacksonville's going to score 17 points. If Fournette is out, 21-17 New England. If Fournette is in, 17-10 Jacksonville.
Okay,
that's ridiculous.
Well, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay to my original prognostication from the first week podcast. New England pulled off a win over the Texans and their defense.
And their Hall of Fame quarterback.
I think if anyone needed a true illustration of what I said years ago, that Khalil Mack was better than J.J. Watt, sorry, Jenna, nothing but love for you, but there it is. Jadeveon Clowney is not overrated. J.J. Watt is. This guy is super talented, yes, but does he change the course of games consistently and in the big moments? No, he does not. And it seems like against New England in particular, he really shrinks. I don't know if he has a man crush on Brady or some kind of shit like that, but Houston has yet to figure out how to get it done against these guys. As far as Jacksonville goes, again, down in Florida, down in that humidity, Jalen Ramsey, a lot of the shit that he was talking in that GQ article, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but looking at week one, he pretty much hit on every single thing he said. That New England receiving core, they're really, really going to get tested because the strength of Houston's defense is the front seven, not really the secondary. Although, Tyrann Mathieu got to pick. But Ramsey and Bouye and Barry Church and those guys, they are going to lean and put pressure on that New England receiving core, including Gronk. And I think it's going to be an ugly game either way. Just so, I think Jacksonville pulls out a ugly close win, and, those fans down there in Everbank, they celebrate almost like they got a trophy for getting, that payback against those guys. Moving right along, keeping things within the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off of their tie, are taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are coming off of a pretty stellar fireworks show over the LA Chargers. This is old guard versus new guard, man. Big Ben, deep ball guy versus this kid, Pat Mahomes, who has shown himself to be a bit of a gunslinger. Roy, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to go KC big here. I think KC is going to show their ass, and the fans in Pittsburgh are going to start a GoFundMe to pay for the rest of Le'Veon Bell's contract. Don't really have. I think the free fall is going to continue in Pittsburgh. I say free fall. It's going to be a couple games. KC's on the way up. I think, like I said, their secondary is bad. Mahomes got a big arm. Tyreek Hill is going to fucking eat. Once again, fantasy football. If you got Tyreek Hill, fucking start him this week. I got Kareem Hunt going in my league. Yeah, KC big.
Okay. Aaron?
Actually, I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with Roy. I think the Steelers are going to win this game. I think they want to win after what they did in Cleveland. And I've tried to fight this, so I'm just going to go ahead and I could be committing some sort of weird suicide, but I'm going to die on the hill of saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be a great quarterback this season like everybody else seems to think he is. So I think he has a second game sophomore slump, if you will. And he could have a great rest of the season after that, but I think he has that one big game, and I think next week a little more reality sets in, and he has maybe a regular game or a mediocre game, and Steelers come out of there with a win.
Okay. Regression to the mean, so to speak, as the Rock rhymes say.
Iron sharpens iron, man.
Oh, yeah. I have a hard time not taking KC just because Tyreek Hill alone, I don't think anyone on Pittsburgh's defense can really deal with him consistently. You might be able to jam him at the line of scrimmage a few times, but sooner or later, if they're playing some kind of soft zone, he's going to find an opening and take off, and it's going to be a wrap.
Reed is going to be playing fucking NFL blitz on Sunday.
Right.
Like, it's going to be.
And the Steelers have had the Chiefs' number in regular season and postseason for like the last 3 years. So I think Andy Reid's looking to kind of punch their face in. On the NFC side of things, Aaron, don't kill me. Minnesota Vikings off of a stellar victory over San Francisco against the Green Bay Packers, who they won that game that they were in last night. I will hang my hat on Harrison Smith emerging as the safety in the league this season. Chancellor retired. Thomas, Jenkins getting up there in age. Collins, good, but various other issues and struggles in New York. I think Smith is the guy at that position. And the scary thing is that on the other side of Sendejo's really good. You have Rhodes on the outside, Wayne's on the outside, Linville Joseph up front. Even if Rodgers is healthy, I just roster to roster. I don't see how they deal with Minnesota. Aaron, your thoughts?
Minnesota
on some teams you're not.
Yeah, Minnesota wins. Minnesota wins. Where I can talk.
The last 5 games, Green Bay versus Minnesota. Green Bay is 1-4. Minnesota.
Pretty decisive there, man. And then last but not least, this is what's probably going to be one of the just oddest matchups of the year. The defending champions against the defending Fitzmagic. The Eagles against the Bucks. Foles and Jenkins and, those hard-nosed guys up in Philly are going to find themselves against a Tampa team just off one of those what-the-fuck moment victories over New Orleans. Again, this is a very, very odd matchup to me, but what are you guys' thoughts? Roy?
I think the Fitzmagic continues. I don't think they're going to drop 48 on Philly. We saw Philly have some trouble with a big physical receiver last week. Julio got 169 yards. Mike Evans is another big physical guy. Deshaun Jackson's going to want. I think he's what 4 years removed from Philly there.
Right.
I still think he still likes coming in there and making them eat shit. Even if Chip Kelly's not there anymore, the same ownership's still there. Although it's in Tampa, it's not in Philly. But he still likes shit. This is back to what Aaron was talking about earlier. This is his typical Fitzpatrick cycle. He's going to win one that he's going to start winning one that he wasn't supposed to win. You're going to be like, oh shit, that was surprising. Then he's going to get one. He's going to get a gutty win, a gutsy win against a team like the Eagles. And it could be like 24-21, pull it out, and people are going to talk about, oh, this might be Tampa's year. And then you can start the fireworks about whether Winston just lost his job or not. Excuse me. I think if Fitz is 2-1 when Winston comes back, it's going to be very tough. 2-1 against teams like New Orleans and Philly. It's going to be very tough. But this is going to be that Fitzpatrick cycle. He's going to have 2 or 3 games where you're like, holy shit, let's turn it over to him, and then he'll have a game where he throws 5 picks, and they're going to be looking around the sideline like, who the fuck made him the starter again? And they're going to have to look at Winston because it's Winston's fault he's a starter. So, yeah, I'm taking Tampa. That's going to be my underdog this week. I don't know what the spread is, but I'm taking Tampa.
Okay. Aaron?
This is a super hard game for me to decide. I thought about it for the last, hour when we discussed what we were going to talk about as far as these games. So I was like, this is the one that I just can't. It almost seems like a coin flip, which is weird when you're talking about the current Tampa Bay team. Yeah. But I could see either team winning barely. I think it, barring like that magic that happened last weekend. But I think this game could turn out a lot like the Atlanta Philly game and just be kind of like ugly play. And who knows? But ultimately, I've got Philly winning this game, and just because I think they're going to be 2-0, and their fans are going to be like, you see, we're undefeated, we're going to back-to-back Super Bowls, and the hype is just going to die down, and a reality will slap them across the face. But I definitely don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to have a repeat game like that one that he did, but we'll see. It's a coin flip for me, and the coin landed on Philly.
Okay. Well, I'm actually gonna give a nod to Tampa here, which may shock you guys because I know I'm not really on the same page with you guys as far as Philly kind of not quite being there. I think they got some talent. But
Meek Mill just uninvited both of you to his birthday party. I'm still going.
The problem here potentially for Philly is dealing with that receiving core and a guy who can really push it downfield. Because, Jameis Winston overall, I think we're all in agreement, is not that talented, but have any of us seen him in particular with a deep ball? Not really. Jalen Mills in particular, and Ronald Darby also to a certain extent, any type of double move or deep balls is where they tend to struggle. We saw it in the Super Bowl. We've seen it in other fleeting moments throughout the course of their season last year. If you go deep or if you try to juke them, you're pretty much in the clear. You have a big body guy in Mike Evans who's larger than every single guy in their secondary, including Jenkins. And you have Deshaun Jackson, who the world was reminded, this guy still has 4.3 speed at the age of 31. I think
need somebody to get him the ball.
Yeah. Well, they also have a world-class tight end.
Right.
Tampa too.
I think the differential is going to come in the sense that the Philly offense is not generating enough to really keep their defense, on an even keel. If they're out there a good chunk of the first half and they run out of gas, then it's going to be over. I think it could possibly remind me of when Philly went 1-1 against the Chiefs of all teams last year. Defensively, they just ran out of gas, and for whatever reason, Carson was just struggling. If that's the situation with Carson Wentz, then Nick Foles, who struggles if it's not an RPO, it really wouldn't shock me if Tampa pulled out a win.
I really need Philly to win this. If I'm being honest with you, Philly winning this would make everything even in the division. But I still think
that's why I can only call it a coin flip.
Yeah, I think it's going to be some more magic this week. So somebody needs to make Philly fans sit the fuck down. Is what I'm getting at.
Go eat some shit.
Well, those are going to be our recaps and our predictions for week 1 and 2. Go ahead.
Can I just at least ask you guys who you're taking in the Monday Night Football game? Since we're not going to talk about the Monday Night Football game, which is a primetime game in Chicago. Seahawks visiting Chicago. Can I just ask you guys picks?
Dude, Khalil Mack is like going to probably kill Russell Wilson.
I know this is the hate Seahawks group, but that's a total. I'm totally joking. But especially with Pat, because Pat knows a lot more about Seattle than I do. And you're kind of right there in that region. So I was wondering what you thought about this game.
Yeah, people think people and Jeremy think I'm always standing for Seattle. Like, no, I just don't like seeing inaccurate shit because I'm in a part of the country geographically where they're on TV all the time. Yeah. So, like, when I see somebody seeing something blatantly wrong, I'm like, no, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. But in any case, I think the Bears kill Seattle because Seattle doesn't have a run game and they don't have an O-line. And the Bears have a fucking lethal pass rush.
They don't have Doug Baldwin either, right? Doug Baldwin's out.
Baldwin's going to be out for like 3 or 4 weeks on a knee injury. So now he doesn't have.
He's got fucking Brandon Marshall.
Yeah. You have Brandon Marshall and Earl Thomas alone.
Don't down talk my boy, all right? Don't down talk the God, Brandon Marshall.
I mean, look, God bless those Griffin brothers. Their story is great, but that's not nearly enough to.
They're not blocking for Russell.
Yeah.
I mean, Khalil Mack, Roquan. Shit. The first half that
if Roquan
Khalil
plays,
was he hurt?
No, they played him like twice in the whole game. They put him in his very first play.
I think that's going to change.
Well, it needs to change, but his very first play of his NFL career was a sack for a loss. Yeah. And, either way, Roquan Smith has the skill set to slide back and forth, which is what the Bears need in that spot.
For the next 5 years at least, I'm terrified of the Bears linebacker core. Roquan, Khalil together, goddamn.
Yeah. No, I think the Bears actually, I think they easily take that game.
Yeah.
And I want you to address Khalil Mack as prime Khalil Mack because he is in his prime right now.
I want you to address that as shut the fuck up because I congratulated your ass over the phone.
Well, I'm going to shut the fuck up and I'll shut the fuck up. And then when this podcast is over, I'll talk again.
But you're going to get another opportunity to talk because I need to hear you guys' shout-outs. Let's start with Roy's shitty shout-outs.
Oh, yeah, the shitty shout-outs.
I want to shout out the Atlanta Falcons and go Dogs.
I'm actually you know what? Fuck you, Aaron. I am going to shout out the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out to Matt Ryan. 3 fucking fantasy points, dude. Really? How the fuck do you miss one of the biggest targets in the NFL in the end zone and you underthrow him by 5 yards? What the fuck? And then he's 6'2", 6'4". I don't know exactly how big Khalil is. He's big as shit. You throw the ball a foot out of bounds. Khalil was towering over this goddamn corner, and you allow this corner to push Khalil out of bounds. You had a chance to win the game twice, Matt. Twice. I defend your ass. I defend your ass all the time. I'm tired of this fucking slightly better Andy Dalton bullshit. I always fucking defend your ass. Right below tier 1 is what I always say. Call me. Go ahead.
Aaron.
Shit. Well, I want to shout out Roy Morgan. I'm playing him in our fantasy league this week. We have a profile pick bet going on. So if you're not part of our Facebook Sports Wars group, you should find it and join it because next weekend you will see one of us changing our profile picture. It won't be me because Roy's fantasy team fucking wild trash. But I'm just saying. So enjoy. Looking forward to Roy. If you search Roy Morgan on Facebook, by the end of next week, you will see a fresh picture of Cam Newton as his profile picture, most likely.
You don't like Cam Newton?
Well, I know I don't like him, but you really don't like him either. So, and it's not. It might not be Cam Newton, but it's probably going to be Cam Newton. So, shout out to Roy's team going 0-2 in our fantasy league this year. Shout out to my team. Shut the fuck up right now. Shout out to my team for being 1-0, scoring 165 fucking points. I am a fucking G at fantasy football. And shout out to Mitch Trubisky. I still believe in you, and I love you.
All right. Well, I want to give a shout out to Cam Newton as well. Shout out to you for only getting me 18.2 points, you fucker. I also want to give a shout out to Aqib Talib, who, even though the Raiders got their asses handed to them, Aqib Talib's bald ass got trucked by Jared Cook. He came up to make a tackle, was doing his yapping and all that, Texas tough guy shit. And Jared put him right on his ass. Maybe that'll teach him maybe not to talk shit to a guy who has like 60 pounds on you. Just a thought, just a concept. And I want to give a shout out to all the people who are fickle and emotional and let nickel and dime politics dictate the way that they live, because it makes me appreciate the way I live even more. I'm going to put on some J's with a big Nike logo on the back, and then I'm going to go have me some Chick-fil-A so all you fuckers can be pissed off. That's all we got for you this week.
Hitting them
Peace
with that
out.
peach tea.
We'll catch you all later.
Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Fuck Roy's team.